What's up, YouTube? This girl on the top of the podium is Izzy. She's a sprinter that I've worked with for the past 4.5 years or so. She recently hit 11.6 in both of her final high school track meets. This is her eking out the victory by 1/100th. This was 11.60 at the area meet. Then in her final 100 meters of her high school career, she ran 11.67 at the regional meet. Both of those were wind aided, although it was unmeasured wind. For sure, the second one, the 1167, was not a big tailwind. Now, as a reference point, she ran mid 13s her freshman year, so she has had some very good development over the past few years, and she's actually heading to run track in college on a scholarship. Okay, so we're gonna just talk about some takeaways from her development over the past few years. First lesson is about the value and the necessity of sprint volume. Okay, once again, I'm talking about this. So I actually started working with Izzy at the beginning of her 8th grade year. And 8th grade and freshman year of high school, she was also playing basketball. And then also for part of the year, maybe had just like miscellaneous workouts going on. And so she was not, doing track all year long. Then in my training with her, I did training across the spectrum. So, sprinting, jumping, plyos, lifting, pretty unrestricted in all those categories. And so she was really doing more general development during those years, and she had a lot of success. Got stronger, jumped better in a lot of different ways, like vertical, broad, bounding, hopping for distance, all these things. Got faster, both acceleration and top speed. Okay, so a lot of success, but I would say that her success in things other than maximum velocity was probably more significant than her success in maximum velocity. Okay, and that's just because she was really only doing a short track season in the spring in both 8th grade and freshman year. So the overall, the big picture of her training was not really focused on track. Now, looking back, I probably could have tried to provide a little bit more specific track development. But I mean, she was young, so it was good to do general development at that time. Now, her sophomore year of high school, she was done with basketball. She was now going to be in the track class period every day at school for the entire school year. And so I thought this would be the time where we would really get that specific track development and really see her max velocity develop. Unfortunately, the track class didn't really deliver. They were more consistent with like med ball throws and body weight strength circuits and some plyos. They were more consistent with those things than they were with like actually getting on the track and sprinting fast. They did some short accelerations, but that was about it. Otherwise, it was paced running or like wickets. They didn't just like do the thing enough, I thought. So her sophomore year, again, there was some progress. I think she ran a 13.1 in the 100 her sophomore year, so it was a little bit faster than freshman year. She also improved her long and triple jump as well, but it was not what I had hoped for. And what I told her is she really needed to, run and sprint more, and that piece had kind of been lacking to that point. So she and I talked about joining a track club actually, and there's a local club that does good work, and she hopped in with them. And actually, in June after her sophomore year, she did run a 12.7 in a summer track meet, and that was a little bit more accurate reflection, I thought, of what she was capable of versus that 13.1. Okay, but then here's the main point. The big level up came junior year. Now she trains with the track club for the entire fall. And let me just tell you about like the typical weekly training split. It was like acceleration day where they did hill sprints and flat ground sprints, something in the 20 to 40 meter range, and minimum 8 reps. Okay. The next day was long fast day. So something in the 150 to 250 range, fast pace, and at least 3 reps was typical. Then they had like a true max velocity day later in the week, so 60s or 80s, something in that range. At least 4 reps of that, And then they had a workout they were supposed to do on their own, which was your kind of slower running, paced 200s or 300s. Okay. So she was doing a lot of running and sprinting throughout a week, and she did that for the entire fall. At this point, I was just doing complementary strength work. Okay. So I didn't necessarily know how fast she was getting during this time because I wasn't testing her speed. But she went to an indoor track meet that winter. She busted out 788 in the 60 meters. And so I was like, whoa, that is way different. Just as a frame of reference, 788, I mean, you're wondering that person might be able to break 12 in the 100. Okay. Or, probably can run 12 flat for sure. So this was a substantial improvement for someone who had, her best race had been 12.7. Okay. Then that school track season, we did see that come to fruition. She ran like low 12s, then broke into 11.9, then had a couple wind aided 11.8s. I think the fastest one was 11.81. That was a plus 2.9 tailwind. So not a crazy tailwind. And so, there you have it. Like, she needed to do more specific sprint work in order to get that progress. Okay. And just, a comment on the strength side of things, I would say, yes, I mean, we were doing consistent strength work, but with as much as she was running, I mean, it was very slow progress. And at times you couldn't necessarily tell that there was any progress happening. Or most of the time, I would say you couldn't tell if there was any progress happening. So it was not as if, she made a massive strength improvement and that's why she got faster. I mean, it was really, I would have to attribute it to just more sprinting. And then just kind of a repeat, her senior year, again, did the track club thing. Her senior year, she had to do the school track period along with the track club. So it was even more work. And again, then I was just doing the complementary strength work. And, it was tough. I'm not going to lie. And there were some times I was like, I don't know how this track season is going to pan out here. But yeah, she ended up, finishing with those couple 11.6s. So again, a very successful year in spite of some challenges along the way. And sprint volume was a big part of that. Okay. So there's your first takeaway. Second takeaway, just some quick comments on her strength training. I did, for the most part, just basic general strength training, squats, split squats, RDLs, hamstring curls. Okay. Trying to get some numbers up in that department. Then when it did come time for, track season, or like the back half of track season in particular, I would, one, cut down how much she was doing, but two, we would go with what some people would call more specific, what I would call less disruptive, okay, form of strength training. So basically, like trap bar deadlifts, do like a partial range quad exercise. So one example that I would pick there would be single leg hack squats, where she literally can't go all the way down. It's more like a 90-degree or maybe even a little bit higher type of angle at the knee. And then like isometric calf work. Those would be some of the go-tos. Here and there, depending on the meet schedule, I might put in like an actual kind of lunge or split squat. But yeah, tried to, at that point of the year, basically just allow the sprint training to take over and not have the strength training mess with it at all. Would it have made a difference if she didn't lift at all? I would lean towards no, she probably should keep lifting, but I can't say for sure. It's possible that she could have just not lifted for the last 3 months of the season and done great. The anecdote requires interpretation, okay? Yeah, that's the approach I took. It did work well. Could it have been done other ways? Possibly. Okay. So there's a little comment on the strength training. Next takeaway, I just got to talk about creatine and nutrition for a second. So at the regional meet, Izzy had long jump to start, and then she won that. She went to state in long jump. Then, because of the way the track events were organized or scheduled, she had 6 races in the next 24 hours. After the first day, I actually asked her mom, I was like, is she still taking creatine? And she said, normally, yes, but she doesn't have any with her. I was like, well, she should have some tonight, because that's very relevant for this situation where you need to do high intensity performance and then do it on a repeat, right? So if you can bolster the creatine phosphate energy system in your muscle cells, that's going to help deliver fast energy within the seconds of those races. Okay. And So yeah, that's, theoretically where creatine is going to be extremely relevant is with that high intensity performance, and then being able to repeat it as well. And then also, I mean, you just got to bring up carbohydrates when it comes to recovery. To do 4 events one day, then overnight recover 3 events the next day and deliver in those races, that requires good energy, good fueling of your body, good recovery overnight. Okay. And yeah, Izzy very much delivered. So in the fifth of those races was her 100 meters that she ran 11:67. To be able to deliver that type of time in that context, very impressive. And again, that does not happen without proper nutrition. Okay. And then the last event was the 4x2. She got the baton for the anchor leg. She was pretty far behind second place, ran the girl down, beat her by a few strides, got second place, got the 4x2 team to state. Okay. So she absolutely delivered all the way through all those races. Theoretically, the nutrition there, the carbs, the creatine are definitely making a difference. Another lesson: relaxation for top speed. So this is Izzy in a workout with me recently running a 40. I want you to notice how relaxed she is as she finishes this. And this was actually a 40 record, okay, which we'll talk about in a second. So yeah, she's sprinting as fast as she can, and she is relaxed. She is calm. Look at this look on her face. Okay, this is her finishing the fastest 40 that I've ever seen her do. That's a lesson. Relaxation is huge for max velocity. And lastly, I want to point out that even with the way that Izzy has trained for the past couple of years, like it's a lot of running, it's a lot of upright running, it's a fair amount of submaximal sprinting. So not on the big picture, not like a huge emphasis on acceleration, right? Obviously a sprinter does work on that, but if you look at the percentage of the work that they do, what part of it is block starts and acceleration focus, it's pretty small. And yet still, after track season, she gets some rest, she freshens up, she comes, works out with me. She has run personal records in the 20 and the 40 in that context. Max velocity development bleeds down earlier into the sprint and makes you faster over short distances. Yeah, this is a thing that I've come to learn is like max velocity is actually like general athletic development. The same way we think of like increasing your squat strength can be general because it translates to a lot of things. Well, max velocity on the opposite end of the spectrum is also general. It translates to lots of things. And that's why pretty much all athletes who need to be athletic on their feet should do it to some degree. All right. And especially to my team sport people out there who are trying to have great agility and good short burst speed, you would be surprised, you'd be shocked at how spending a season training like a track athlete, sprinting and running your butt off, maybe not in the midst of it, right? Because you're going to have some fatigue and it's going to have some toll on your body, but do it for a season, back off of it, recover, get fresh, and watch what happens to your 10-yard time, your 20-yard time, your 40-yard time, okay? Everyone needs max velocity development to some degree. If you need help getting faster and more athletic, hit me up for some individual coaching.